Weirding Way Media.
Welcome to episode 98 of the Filmumentaries podcast. This is Jamie Benning talking to you here from my little house in London. I hope you're doing well. Welcome back, or maybe this is your first time. Either way, you've got about an hour's worth of film-related chat ahead of you. I hope you enjoyed my chat with director Gareth Edwards and his effects crew in episode 97. Probably one of my biggest episodes so far in terms of the status of the guests and the film, but also in terms of the number of people I interviewed. I really appreciate all of the positive feedback from you, most commonly saying it was the best episode yet. Was it? Okay, good. It's good to know. So maybe I'll aim to do more panels like that in the future. It was good fun actually chatting to all of those artists. I really enjoyed that evening. And what an evening that was. Also talking to Phil Tippett. It's coming out in April, folks, that episode. If you enjoy my work, please consider contributing via patreon.com/Jamie Benning, JamieBenning. There's just over 100 of you doing that at the moment. I'd love to get the number to 200. Despite loving what I do, this is work, and I really would appreciate your support. So if you enjoy my work, then please help me make this a viable venture to continue with. I hope you agree that I get good guests and that it's always nice to listen to my episodes. So yeah, you can check that out on patreon.com/Jamie Benning. Talking of great guests, I know, what a segue, I should be on the radio. For this episode, I speak with helicopter stunt pilot Fred North about his incredible career. If you haven't read Fred's book, Flying Sideways, I'd really recommend it. It charts the life and career of Fred to eventually reaching the pinnacle of his profession as a Hollywood stunt pilot, with a lot of amazing experiences along the way. You can find it at most bookstores and online in the usual places. In fact, if you go to fred-north.com, you'll find all the details you need. Okay, so here's my chat with helicopter stunt pilot Fred North, and I'll be back at the end for a bit more jabbering on. So you began this journey into stunt piloting at a young age. Obviously I've read the book, Fred, and I thought it was fantastic, but tell the listeners about that first moment you saw a helicopter and how it changed your life.
I was 8 years old. I was in Africa, on the west side of Africa, because my parents were teachers, were living there for 13 years. And I was in the street, just with my buddies. So you have to envision, 4 or 5 kids, 8 years old, not much clothes, it's pretty hot over there. And then we hear that machine, and it's called an Alouette 2. It's like a Mad Max helicopter with a lot of steel and open structure at the time. And it's very noisy. And that machine came like pretty low above us because we were close to the local stadium. And, as a perspective, as 8 years old in Africa, looking at that machine, it was like an alien ship landing in our neighborhood. So we just see that it's going towards the stadium. So now we're starting to run. And it's not just us. There's like 300 kids running. All the streets, converge towards the stadium. So it's like crazy event. So we're running like crazy, almost falling and all that stuff. It's like, whoa, super fast. And then we get there. And that's when the machine is landing in that stadium full of sand. There's no grass. So the dust and the noise, and it's electrifying. It's insane. And then everybody's like, the eyes is here popping, looking at that. And then that helicopter land, there's no doors. And my social study teacher stepped out of the machine. And then he see me, he sees me. So he said, oh, Fred, what are you doing here? I'm 8 years old, And then they said, he was going to take some pictures of a river that burst into the ocean. He said, you should come with us. I'm 8 years old. We're talking about in the 70s where there's no safety thing. It's not, go ask your mom, come with us. So I'm going in the back and I'm sitting by myself on the side of there's only 3 seats in the back and there's no doors and there's no seat belts. Why bother? I'm 8 years old. They have no problem to ask me to sit there. Today, that will be impossible.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
Anyway, I'm sitting there, and we taking off, but I think I'm gonna fall. So I'm holding, and those seats are more like a military kind of seats where you have the tubes. The tubes on each side is just a piece of fabric. It's pretty rough. I'm holding that to my life. And each time the helicopter is turning, I think I'm going to fall, even if we don't, because with it's like on a motorcycle, you're not falling off the bike when you have speed. Anyway, all that event, it was crazy to me as 8 years old, my perspective. So when we landed, I run toward to my house, and then I told my mom I just did a helicopter tour, and she's like, "What?" But since that day, basically, it was there. It was an amazing experience for, so from that day, it was always in the back of my mind.
It's crazy to think, isn't it, that light bulb moment you had might not have happened if your family had remained in France, or if, you weren't out that day. I mean, it sounds like, from reading the book, it seems like you had quite this kind of feral, open childhood where you were just out every day. I mean, I think
right.
I'm 47, and I think my generation was probably the last generation that had that. I remember, going into the woods for hours and then thinking, oh, it's about to get dark, I better head home. That was my only concern when my stomach was rumbling. But those lives don't exist anymore.
No, because they have too much digital, like the phone. We don't have phone. We had to get busy. There was no device.
Yeah.
In fact, for me, I had no toys, no nothing. So it was never a problem. We were busy from sunrise to sunset. But yes, you're right.
And funny, my daughters would tell me they're bored and they've got everything.
As soon as you tell them, why you stay on the phone, they say, well, I don't have nothing else to do. So it's a catch-22 thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But how does an 8-year-old kid go from that to being, a successful stunt pilot in Hollywood? And that's the story that your book tells so fantastically. I mean, I'm a sucker for, movie behind the scenes stuff. And big part of your book isn't concerned with the movie end of it. It's all the journey you had on the way, where you didn't think you were going to become a pilot because you couldn't get into the military, or it didn't fit your personality and all those things. But one thing that strikes me about you is you've just got this kind of shark-like drive where you just keep moving forward until you encounter the next thing and see if that works out. And you're always experimenting. Is that something that you always felt was different about you?
I think so. It's to me, when I have 3 kids and two boys and 1 daughter, and the 2 boys, they're 18 and 20 years old, and they're asking me, what's the key of success, basically. And I from my perspective and my experience, and that's what we try to say in the book, is if you create opportunities for yourself and you keep doing that, so things come to you and you go to them, eventually you're gonna have success. Yeah. Because the problem is that I think people stay in a box and they don't get out of that routine or something. So if you don't expose yourself to situation, to new people, to new talent, to new holidays, to new anything, you're not going to have a chance to connect those dots. So for me, I think that's how I went to the US at 42 years old, because I basically prepped my life, my second life, because I believe as a man, you have 2 lives. You have 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and after that, it's just the bonus things.
Yeah.
So the first half, you building what's going to happen on the second half. And this is why I'm telling the kids, be careful to not waste that first half. And in the book, because one of the reasons we did the book with my wife, Peggy, is because everybody's asking me how I got where I am today, but it's not, I can't say that just in one sentence. And I'm trying to respond to those people on social media and be kind to them and explaining to them But that's why the book, you have to create opportunities, you push to yourself, you stick to the plan, you don't deviate from the plan. You can change plans, but you don't deviate from whatever you decided to do. When I moved from France to the US, I was 42. I only knew one guy in the US. Okay, one guy. And my English was shit. I'm not saying it's better today, but
it's good now.
It was not good at all. No work, no visa, pregnant woman, and not much money. But at the end of the day, you stick to the plan. And there's so many people that go back to their country, and for me, that cut that bridge off. There's no return. So I think yes, the drive is there. It's not always easy, even for when you make a decision. But if you stick to it and you keep running to a point, you're gonna make it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about, heading towards those opportunities, and they will come towards you, and some will pass you by, but it's keeping a sort of open mind to those opportunities, because everybody sees there are opportunities every day for everybody, and some people just walk straight past them. Other people like yourself seem to already have an intention and head towards it, but can also recognize it when they see an opportunity. And also,
I think it's,
go on.
You're right, and I think it's because you also have to be open to the people. So let's say I'm not a dancing guy. Like I love dancing, but my dancing is crap. Okay, so if I go take a dancing class, let's say, okay, I like to expose myself, to challenge myself. I'll go there. The dance may not be working out, but the people I'm going to meet there may connect me to a guy that is flying a Boeing 747, and then suddenly I may go to that career. You know what I mean? It's just, I think you have to go there and be kind and be open, and things will come to you. A lot of people, they're so closed in, they don't open their heart, they don't give a smile back. For me, it's all those things that help you succeed. I believe.
And you've got this I can do this attitude as well, which a lot of people don't have. You've reached, as you'll see when you read the books, listeners, you'll see that Fred strove to reach one point and then reach that point, but that wasn't enough. It was always something else that you wanted to do. So I think it's always important to have that next step, isn't it? Have that next dream ahead of you.
1000%. You can never. We always say it's about the journey and not the end goal. And I know it's a cliche thing to say, but the truthness of this is you do the journey, and when it's done, then you need another one. And it can be work, but it can be a house to build. It can be moving, it can be a new girlfriend, whatever that is, but you need something to. The way I see it is, you're on a bicycle, you always have to move your pedals and keep moving. If you don't, then you fall off the bike. To me, it's just, you have to keep doing it. Even if there's no really plan, you'll just figure it out.
Yeah. People say to me quite often, and my endeavors are much smaller scale, but they say, Jamie, how do you do it? You've got like a job that takes you around the world. I work on Formula One. You've got a podcast, you've got a family, you're doing a documentary, you've put a book out this year. And I kind of look at these people and I say, well, what are you doing? You're watching every episode of Game of Thrones or something. I don't know what it is, but I'm not sat there doing nothing. I'm always trying to do something, because otherwise I just kind of vegetate. I need something.
You need
my wife always says to me, something creative,
And one thing may work, the other one doesn't work.
Yeah.
It was the same thing for the book. The book for me, I'm like you. I travel all around the world. I'm gone 6-7 months a year.
Yeah.
In the year, my family, when I come back, I have to, be available for the family and everything. And the book, we just, in 2 years, we did it. It was not easy, but we did the book, and we didn't know where the book was going to take us, and at the end of the day, the book is more to share my journey. It's not a money thing, as you know. A book doesn't make any money.
It doesn't.
No, but we did it because we stick to the plan, and we, you have to do that. I think that's the difference between people that are going to be happy about their lives and some people that will have regrets. I'm not going to have any regrets. That I can tell you that.
Yeah, but also you talk about some of the problems, or they're not really failures. They're stepping stones on the way, aren't they? When there's a problem and you don't manage to do what you intended at that time, it's not the end of the story. It's just the next step in the story.
Right, and even today, I still have, I make mistake, and then it's like I make a mistake that nobody will expect me to make, because like you Fred Roth, so you're not gonna make any mistake. I do mistake, and then
Of course.
but the way I see it is, to me, okay, I make a mistake, and I'm not trying to blame myself, even if it's my fault and everything. I'm just, okay, what should I do really for this to not come back and happen again? It doesn't mean I don't take the blame. I do, but I don't victimize myself on that blame. I'm very careful to, okay, that happened to me. There must be a reason. Like I did, when you make a mistake, usually, or something, whatever that is, it's usually because your behavior, it's good that it happened.
Yeah.
So not something worse can happen.
Yeah.
And to me, I try to take it as a positive, even if, it doesn't happen overnight. Like I say, what did I do? And then I go back up. But to me, that's the way you need to manage mistakes, because we're all going to make some. If you are, you drive and you go through life here, and I'm going to make some stuff. So yeah, it's allow you to keep going in life. And in the book, I really open heart to everything that happened to me.
Yeah.
And that was some crap stuff. Yeah.
Well, I just think of one example of when you're flying a helicopter, I forget where, maybe in the jungle or something, and you clip an antenna, and the helicopter kind of flips over now, and you take it, and as fire starts, and you have people threatening you because you've turned off their communications or whatever. And some people would say, I need to get out of a helicopter. I never need to get back in one again in my life. But your attitude is, right, what went wrong this time? How can we improve it for next time? And I think that attitude is clearly something that's taken you along this path. And you're one of those people that just is able to kind of recognize that as a requirement if you want to keep moving your life forward. Yeah.
It's very important. The thing is, I think a lot of people that successful in life, I'm not saying, I don't want to be arrogant saying that. It's not saying I'm successful. I'm good where I am. But what I mean is, you need to have some ego and some confidence. So ego is confidence in you, but there's good and bad ego. And sometimes it's very, the line is very close from each other.
Yeah.
So you want to be very careful. And I think if you humble, like if you don't take things, like, I'm so fucking good. Like, you guys are, the bad ego. No, that's not going to help you, right? I think that's going to drive only bad stuff coming towards you. And in my business, there's so many people that have bad ego, like up there, up the chain, that it's not always easy. But when I see them, it makes me laugh. Because I'm thinking, man, that guy, he is a piece of work. But it's a joke, because the bad ego is funny to see.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And it's interesting you talk about the good ego, because people don't really associate ego as a positive thing. It's always has a negative connotation. But it's important to have that, not necessarily the confidence that you've reached the pinnacle, but the confidence that if you keep trying, you will get there. Yeah.
No, yes, and also you have to convince that what you think is right, even if it's not, but you don't have to be a dick about it. Like, don't be imposing all your ideas to everybody. Do it to you, but do it with kindness. You don't have to be a dick. When I moved to America, I remember I met that pilot. Somebody, introduced me to a film pilot that was doing the same job than me, but I was coming from France.
Yeah.
And the guy was so rude. Like, the ego of the guy was huge. And that guy, he forgot that he came to France 10 years before. So I was 42 years old when I moved to LA, 40. And then 10 years before that, when I was 30, that same pilot came to France and he was looking for a helicopter to fly for a film. You have to understand, they don't have a French license. So they cannot fly by themselves on the chopper. I made it happen for them, which is not easy to do, to have an American pilot come to France and fly a French helicopter without the paperwork, without the license. I made it work for him as a kindness, to make it work for him. Then 10 years later, I go to the US, and then that guy is basically told me, what French people are coming to our backyard? What are you doing in our country? Go back to where you're coming from. And I told him, I said, did you forget that you came to my country? I open heart to you. You came. I didn't tell you, and he was not having it. But now the funny thing is that same guy I'm giving him jobs once in a while. Things shifted.
Yeah.
But that was bad ego, and that doesn't take you anywhere good. you know.
I also like in your book about how you talk about wanting to become instinctive in the machine, in the helicopter.
Right.
You know, you have to, of course, have a technical understanding. You need to pass the exams and things like that. But you want to be able to feel the machine you're in. It's funny because in the last 2 interviews I've done, I've been talking to an animator and a director. And the animator was talking to me about that kind of meditative state you get in that flow state, the kind of Ayrton Senna, the Formula One driver, would describe, where he'd do 50 laps and he wouldn't really be thinking about it. He'd just be responding to the machine and feeling the machine. And this director was saying the same thing about having a very lightweight camera that just made him very free. He operated himself. And if anything happened, he could instinctively move with whatever was going on and kind of improvise in that way. And I think somebody like yourself, you know, who you think of a helicopter pilot as a technical operator, maybe in the general public, but really there's a real art to it, isn't there? There's a kind of there's a real craft and art to it that is really like an artist.
No, it's 1000% like that. And I think, to me, the instinctive part, so you're an instinctive person or you're a technical person, if you want to be connecting with whatever it is, a bicycle, a car, and a Formula One, a camera, a helicopter, you have to be in that mood where you're connecting.
Mm-hmm.
You have to dedicate your energy, your effort, and your mental mind, your mindset to the connecting part. And I truly believe that today, and it's a bit of a shame, but a lot of helicopter pilots, I would say 90% of them, are taught to just be an operator. They're just operating the machine. They're not connecting with it. And the problem in helicopter is because you have all those jobs that are pretty complicated, like firefighting, rescue in the mountains, filming what I'm doing. But whatever you do, you need to connect with the machine. You know, long line where they have a line and they drop things off in the mountains. You have to connect with your machine. You have to become one. The problem is most of the guys only learn that on the way. Like for me, it took me 20 years to understand that concept. I had it, but I didn't know I had it. And then I understood that I need to fly if you take the control on the helicopter, you have a few different control. You have the main one here, the cyclic, it's called. It's the one that are controlling the blade and everything, the direction. And you have one.
By the way, Fred, just to interrupt, your camera stopped when whatever you did a minute ago. Your camera stopped moving. I don't know if it's.
I'm not. You can see me?
I can see a still of you with your arms crossed. I think, as you know, when you swiped something on your screen a couple of minutes ago.
It was somebody that called me, so I just put I didn't take the call, so that's what I did.
Okay, maybe it's okay. Okay, so go back. You were just talking about the controls
what
you have.
What happens is you have the pedals that go left and right when you have no speed, like if you hover. You have a main control here called the cyclic, and this one you push forward, you go forward, but you're also going down. You pull, you go up. And then you can slow down left and right, and then you have something on the left. That's the power. Is go up and down, but it's the engine. And then what happens is most of the people, when they have the control, if you tell them to go left, they will move it like this, like they push it. Instead to do this, pressure point. So just put pressure and connect with this, and then it's a pressure. It's not a movement. And I believe that. It took me 20 years to understand that that's the way you need to fly. It's with pressure. I was doing it, but I didn't understand what I was doing. Now I can really clearly see it. And then when I see pilots that I fly with them, it's like, why are you moving the control like that? Just think you turn, and it's going to turn. It's so sensitive anyway. And to me, when you do that, then you connect with the machine. Suddenly you really trying to connect. It's like, some people, when they give you a hug. Okay. So some people give you a hug, it's like a piece of wood. There is no connection between the two people because they don't mean it. And some people, they give you a hug. I mean, really, it's pressure. To me, it's exactly the same thing. So when you fly a helicopter, I truly believe if you do it with connection and with pressure, you're going to be so much better. So in the book, I'm talking about that instinctive thing that is a natural feeling versus if you're technical. Like an airline pilot is more technical because that's what he does. Everything is the processes, is a control, is a switch, is a plan, computer. They're more flying a computer, the truth is. We are not computer flying people. Like, I'm definitely not. I'm not good with instruments. I hate instruments. I want the minimum of instrumentation I can have. If I can have one, I'll take it, And I think that's why, I'm lucky to be good in the film, in the filming things. It's because I'm an instinctive person. So the book is reflecting a little bit of that, the explanation.
Just out of interest, has the computer world tried to inject itself more into the helicopter realm, like, in the way that it's done with aeroplanes, or is that something that just doesn't work because of the physical technology that's there?
They're trying to do it because the way to connect with the machine right now, the machine are designed with hydraulic system. So it's a hydraulic, to remove one of the forces. So otherwise you could not fly it like a car, with a steering wheel. They're trying to do fly by wire, which means instead of an hydraulic, it's a wire and then it's electrical input. I hate that because there's zero connection between you and the helicopter. So there's not that many. Only some big machine have that concept, but all the one that are in my my category, like a 5-6 seaters helicopters, they still have the hydraulic, and it seems that the industry understand that we do need that. Because the problem with fly-by-wire is like a click. If you want to go left, it's one click and it's go back to neutral. One click, go back to neutral. When you have hydraulic, you pressure. And after the turn is done, if you want to go back to the right, then you're going back to the right. But you're not coming back to neutral each time. So it's not the same way to fly.
Right. Yeah. I've still, to this day, not been in a helicopter.
That's a big
I'm 47,
mistake,
I should probably...
You have to go... No, but just go... What you do, don't go for a tour. Ask them you want to do an initiation, 1 hour flight just to show the control, and the guy will explain it to you, and it's almost the same price, the truth is, but do it on an initiation, do 1 hour, and he's going to light you, like it's going to be like a fireworks, and you don't have to keep going, you just do it once, and you know what,
see what you think.
I don't know your wife, but I truly believe you should also give that to her, to do 1 hour, because a lot of people don't believe they can do something, and flying a helicopter is like, oh, I cannot do that. But you do the 1 hour and suddenly you understand it's not that complicated for the basic principle. And it's fun. 1 hour, it's not, you take a small helicopter, it's like $300 or $250,
I can do it. I live right near Biggin Hill Airport here in Kent, so I think they do helicopter runs up there.
Next time we have a conversation, you better do that, otherwise.
Yeah, okay. Promise. I really enjoyed the book and enjoyed that journey into, film work. You said obviously you had a aerial unit in France there for a while, which you then sold on, and then aged 42 heading out to LA. And I love the kind of route you had in, because you describe it as this very much a sort of closed shop. It's a bubble. The Americans helicopter industry in the movie industry is a sort of impenetrable bubble. But you managed to find a way to kind of circumnavigate that because of where you had licenses and the language you speak. Could you talk a little bit about that kind of backdoor?
So often, I hear, there's no way to get into that market because it's. I think every market is a little bit like that. There's always a niche of professional doing the biggest jobs, whatever that is. And to get in, you have to find a way, because nobody's going to be inviting you. That is for sure. So for me, I really didn't know how to get in there. And then that my friend, the one guy that I knew, his name is Larry Blandford, and he's a director, a DP now. And he was an aerial cameraman back then. And he told me, we have that movie in Canada called Fantastic Four, the first one. And if you remember, those four guys. And he said it's in Canada, and nobody in the filming pilot world have a Canadian license, and production is not going to bring a helicopter from the US when there is plenty of them in Canada. But he said, the job is in 2 months. I said, Fred, there is no way I can bring you in unless you have the Canadian license, because if I cannot bring one guy from the US. They would want the guy that are known, not an unknown Frenchman, So that's when I decided I need to get my my Canadian license. So I called the helicopter company in Canada, in Whistler, that was in not far from Vancouver. And I called the guy, and luckily for me, he was old school, that guy. And I told him, I said, I'm a French guy, I have 10,000 hours at a time, and there's a movie. And I said, and they want to use your helicopter for the show, but they want me to fly. And he said, well, you don't have a Canadian license. I said, I don't. But I said, if I do have it before the job, would you let me fly your machine? The guy was convinced I was not going to get it on time. So he said, of course I will. If you get the license, for sure. Because normally to get a license, it's 6 to 8 months. And I said, are you giving me your word as a man? And he said, yes. Okay, Steve. Then boom, hang up the phone. Then I'm thinking how I'm going to do that. So because my English was crap, I decided to do it in Montreal, so to go on the East Coast. And then I went to that school, and they told me it's minimum 3 months as a freelance for you to do it. There's no way you can do it less. And then I said, but I have so many hours. The only thing I need is the written test and the flying test and the medical to have the license, basically, because I didn't need to do the whole course because I was already a pilot. They said, yes, but the written test, it's complicated exams. It's you have 18 different things, aerodynamics, weather, and there's so many things. And then I figured, okay, well, I'm going to do that. So then I was with all those young kids that was 18, 19 years old that were at that school. And 2 of them just finished the written test. So I just told them, hey, can I hire... So there was 2 that were super nice. I said, can I hire you guys for 10 days?
Such a good idea.
You just teach me how to pass the exam. I don't give a shit about the knowledge. I just want to pass the exam. So how we do that? And I will pay you for 10 days. I'm going to rent a house, and we work from 6 a.m. to midnight every day. Can we do that? And those 2, they're sure. Because I was already known a little bit in France, and those guys were French, so they knew me through that connection. And they had some sort of an admiration for me or something. So they wanted to be part of, that event. And for 10 days, we worked our ass off. And after 10 days, I went to the Canadian Civil Aviation Office to do the written test. And those 2 guys were like in a delivery room and me having a baby. They were so stressed out for me. It was crazy. And I passed the exam, 98% or something. It was insane, but it was not an easy thing to do. And then I did my flight test with a 22-year-old instructor. There was a joke, and I did that, and I did my medical. And then, so all that stuff took a month back to back. And then I called the guy back in Whistler, and I say, Steve, there was no internet back then. Okay, there was no, it was fax, right? We didn't have, it was telex or fax. And I said, Steve, I have my license. He said, no way. And I didn't have a way to show it to him because there was no iPhone. There was no, send a picture of the thing. I said, I have it. And I said, just call the Civil Aviation. He said, I'm going to do that. They said, there's no way. So he hung up the phone. He called the Civil Aviation, and they didn't really give me the physical license back then, but I had a number that was, so he checked, and then they told him, yes, he has it. So then he called me back, and he said, Fred, I can't believe you have it. I said, are you going to honor your word? And he said, yes, but I have to, I guess. But I'm going to fly with you the first day. And if you're showing me you're capable and everything, I will let you go on your own. And if for a reason I don't like what you're doing, then it's a no. So then that's how we did it. And then the first day we flew just for 30 minutes. And then he said, you were good. And then he let me flew, and we became friends since then. But, it was not an easy. So that's how I got my first movie. And then from that movie, a second one and a third. But it took 5 years to be financially sustainable when I moved to the US. So I had to go back to France to keep doing jobs to, feed my family, basically. So it was not necessarily easy for 5 years,
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I love, again, it's just that drive to just reach that target. And I also really love about how you describe about what you can offer as a helicopter pilot with a camera rig. I mean, when I was a kid, you would see, if you saw a helicopter and a camera, there was a guy hanging out the side with a camera on his shoulder. But these days, of course, we have all the sophisticated, stabilized Cineflex cameras. Yeah. And I know we use them on Formula One, of course, on our coverage there. But I love what you can offer, not just technologically and with your experience as a pilot, but your understanding of the story as well, and the understanding of what that shot is intended for. What is it doing? How is it driving the story along? And I think that's probably what sets you aside. Again, it's not that technical aspect of you, which does exist, it's that artistic aspect. Can you talk a little bit about how you interact with a director and how you can kind of maybe surprise them with an offer of something that you can do?
So to me, the way I see it is when you get hired as a film pilot, it's the same for Formula One or whatever event it is that you need to film. They're not calling you because you know how to fly a helicopter. It's like when you go to the doctor, okay, you're not going because he's just the doctor. You go because he's the best guy you know, or because he has a specialty. But you know what I mean? So to me, you should not talk about anything about helicopters. That's a given. You have that. So now you need to see, what can I do for them? So I need to understand, what they want to do with the footage. Like even Formula One, okay? If Formula One, they're more focused on who's going to be winning, who's going to be losing, or are they going to be interested more about the flow of the race? Are they going to be interested more about the scenery around the race? Are they going to use a 3-second shot? Do they need a 45-second storytelling? Do you need them to focus on one guy? You need to know all those specifications so you can fly accordingly to get those shots. If you don't care and you're just going at 1,000 feet and just go around in circle and let the cameraman zoom in and do these things, again, you're not going to be connecting with the race.
Yeah.
Again, you need to connect with the event. And to me, I do this in the film work. I really put my heart into what do they need and what can I offer. And I'm very careful, though, to not impose my vision. I'm really careful to give them their vision. Because again, you can have ego and say, I know better than you. You don't know what I can do for you. So listen what I have to say. No, you don't want to do that. It's it's to give them what they don't know they can get, but still align with their vision. What do they need? So I'm always doing my homework in a film. If I work with a new director, I'm checking the couple of movies that is done before. I'm trying to see if there is a style. Like if you take a guy like Michael Bay, okay, director famous in our industry, he has a style. The camera is always moving in his shot, always moving. It's never static. You have director where it's the action moving in the back, the camera doesn't move, and some others the camera is moving and not whatever you're filming. Like Ridley Scott does that a lot. Ridley Scott, is shaking the camera a lot, but this one doesn't need to shake. Otherwise, it's impossible. But you need to understand the way they're doing things so you can embrace that vision and then see what you can add to that. And I think that's part of the reason that I have so much work and everything is because people know I'm going to embrace the creative side of it. And I'm not talking about the helicopter ever. The only time, I may talk about the helicopter limitation if they're asking me something crazy, which they often do, but I'm always telling them, it may not be that simple to do that, and it may, limiting me to give you what you want at that location because it's too tight. But if we do it at that other location, then I can absolutely do that and this and that, and then okay, great. They will embrace your proposal as long as you align with what they have in mind. And I think that's what the film pilots need to do, instead to say, where do you want me to go?
Yeah. Is there a director you felt that kind of alignment with, that you feel like you're on a level with them and they know what they can get from you and you know what you can give for them?
Yeah, there's a few. Yeah, Michael Bay's one. Joaquin Renning he did Pirates of the Caribbean and Woman of the Sea. I love his vision. Sam Hargrave, Extraction. Peter Berg is amazing. There's Mark Molloy. I did Beverly Hills Cops 4. It's not out yet. Mark is amazing. Supervision. I love it.
Yeah.
The thing with directors is they are in their bubble, okay, and they don't know how to communicate. Like there is no way for them to tell you specifically what they want because they don't even know themselves. Like there's so much shot in their mind. When you imagine on a movie, you know how many shots you have in one movie, like a 2 hours movie. You have like hundreds, thousands of them. They have that in there.
Yeah.
So it's like, what can I do to support them? So I'm trying to understand what they want. And then I don't ask him to tell me how to do it. I'm just asking them, tell me what you need. Don't tell me how to get it, you know. And then I when I understand what they want, I'll try to think, how can I do better? How can I get them this, exactly that, but better? Can I give them more, you know, if it's epic, if it's sexy, if it's a 3-second shot, I'm not trying the same way that it's a 45-second shot. So if he's telling me, you know, there's a dialogue in the car while you're showing that car going from the airport to the city, you know, I'm not going to show you the same way that he's telling me, we just need to see a 2-second shot of that car going to the city. I'm going to shoot it. I'm going to fly differently. So I love all that part, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I love in the book as well. I've got the book here with me. I love in the book here is the QR codes in the back, so that you can see some
videos.
you can scan them on your phone and you can see the videos of, you know, the video clips, the trailers, the helicopter scenes and things that you've been involved with over the years. I thought it was a really nice touch.
I think it's really cool for movies because it's because in my mind it has to be entertaining. If you only have like 400 pages of blah, 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 as a pilot, it's hard to read because we're not reader, you know. So I really want, so that's why we did the QR codes, and people can go watch the videos and look at the story, and it's suddenly, you know, I think it's way more connection.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much that we've not talked about that's in the book, but we'll leave that to people to discover for themselves within the book. I appreciate your time so much today, Fred, and I thoroughly enjoyed the book,
pleasure.
And I've already bought it for 2 other people, and I've recommended it for others as well. So
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Super.
Well, I hope you enjoyed my chat there with Fred North. Thanks to Fred for his time and to his publisher for sending me a copy of the book. That was a nice rare treat. If you do want to watch the video version of this interview, it is on the YouTube channel, but I will say about halfway through the interview, Fred got a notification come up on his phone, and I saw his finger reach towards the camera to swipe and say, you know, hang up. Unfortunately, it froze the video. I've reported this to Riverside, the platform I use to record my podcast. So only half of the video has video of Fred. You do see me throughout, but who wants to see that, honestly? Now, next month, March 2024, March already, I have a couple more episodes lined up, one of which is presenter and documentary maker David Whiteley. A really fun conversation about our love of those particular movies, you know the ones. And for the second episode of March, I have some good options. So I'm not going to commit right now to saying which one is which. I know sometimes I say next up is this episode and then I change my mind. I'm going to try and stop doing that. Just rest assured there'll be some good stuff coming up. I'm chasing some rather high-profile guests for later in the year too, so please keep that support coming. Just $12 for 1 year, and that will help fund 24 episodes. Patreon.com/Jamie Benning. You can find me on Twitter @JamieSWB, Facebook Filmumentaries page, filmumentaries.com, Filmumentaries channels on YouTube and Vimeo. There's a lot of stuff for you to look at and listen to out there. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you can do so again for the next episode of the Filmumentaries podcast.
We are being way mean